Sandbox MMA fans, it's time for the UFC Saudi Arabia matchmaking. Love making these videos, and what I've done in this video is matched up every single person on the card that I would found it relevant to have matched them up with. I've given you a date and a location, or a location and a time frame on when I think they should fight next against their opponent. If you think that there's a better opponent, please let me know in the comments. I'm open to everything, just like making these videos a lot, but let me know what you guys think in the comments as well. Before we get too crazy, just me rambling, I'm just going to get right into it here. So we are going to start with the UFC Saudi Arabia matchmaking. Going to go over to my trusty PowerPoint, and we're going right to the prelims here. First fight of the night, Chung Ho Kang. This dude from South Korea beat Zhao Long in a close competitive fight. I do agree with the decision. I think the body knees were the difference, and it was pretty entertaining. Like, wasn't super high level, but it was kind of sloppy and fun to watch. I think that he should be fighting Terrence Mitchell. Terrence Mitchell, not a high level guy. Neither is Chung Ho Kang. Kang Ho Cha. I don't know, dude. Neither is this dude. Yeah, I mean, first fight after the road to the UFC, he fights on the card, wins the road to UFC, then gets another fight. I don't think he should take a big step up in competition. I don't think Terrence Mitchell's that good, but let's try and build this guy a little bit. He's a road to the UFC guy, and they can probably promote him a little bit in those Asian countries. We should do Terrence Mitchell. Fight night early prelim in November, sometime in November. It can be in front of a crowd. It can be the one Apex card in November because they're only going to be doing one, right? Yeah, do it as an early prelim. I think it could be interesting to see where he's going to match up against the UFC level competition versus the actual road to the UFC competition. So give him an easy one to go in. I reckon he could win it, or Terrence Mitchell could win it. We'd see. But Muhammad Gazizulov, I'm starting to get that name right, had a pretty decent win over Benison Haberio. Good grappling performance. Second round was pretty... Lucas Tracy calls it smudgy. I agree. Round 3 was pretty fun. He was beating him up, and when I say pretty fun, it was one-way traffic, but he was actually doing damage. So I would like to see him turn around and fight again on the early prelims of 308. This is the pay-per-view in Abu Dhabi. It's over 4 months away, 4.5 weeks away, 4.5 months away. Put him up against Ibo Aslan, another guy from that area, with a similar background. I think it would be a very fun fight at light heavyweight. So these are two guys that have one win each in the UFC. Both should be fighting in Abu Dhabi. Do it on the 308 early prelims. It's a fun fight. Muin Gafarov got a very decisive win over Chung Ho Kang. Chung Ho Kang kind of fumbled the bag a little bit, but you know what? It happens. We think he should be fighting. I Dude, I don't even remember. Oh, this is Brady Highstand. He just got a win last week. I don't like that it's off center. That's bothering me. I'm sorry. Fight Brady Highstand. Brady Highstand just got a win over Garrett Armfield last week on the shittiest card of all time, Taylor versus Perez. Actually, you know what? Let's just not talk about that card. But he got a win. Muin Gafarov is coming off of a win. They're in similar spots in the rankings. These are not guys that are just outside the bantamweight rankings. They're far from it. But, you know, they're in that kind of top 50, top 60 tier, per Tapology at least. They should be fighting each other, coming off a win. They're on similar schedules. Neither took too much damage. 308 early prelims. You're going to see a lot of these guys that fought on this card should be fighting in Abu Dhabi as well. It's just their realm of the world. They should be fighting in Abu Dhabi. So what we're looking at here is early prelims for 308, early prelims for 308. Those are two fights that I would enjoy seeing on the early prelims. So make it happen. Muin Gafarov versus Brady Highstand. Renat Fakhretdinov, boring performance against Nicholas Dalby, really just holding on for dear life. I don't know that he deserves a top 15 guy yet, but where he should be fighting is on the main card of UFC 308. Now, I know what you're saying. Renat Fakhretdinov on a main card, that is a recipe for disaster, but should he be going up in the rankings? He beat Zaleski dos Santos. He beat Nicholas Dalby, two guys just outside the rankings. As much as I don't want to see it because of how boring his past performance was, we got to see it. I know whose game. Kevin Holland's game, and I'm willing to bet that Kevin Holland has enough movement in his jiu-jitsu realm where he can make Renat Fakhretdinov uncomfortable. He can keep Fakhretdinov at range, and he might be able to chin him. Kevin Holland versus Renat Fakhretdinov. Kevin Holland called himself the gatekeeper. show himself that he is a true gaper. He beats Fakhretdinov, he goes right back up in the rankings, starting to fight one of those guys in the top 10 again. You could do the Neil Magny matchup and just get a boring fight out of the way, but I think they're going to do Neil Magny versus Michael Morales. I think they want him in the rankings really bad, and I think they're going to give him to Neil Magny. Kevin Holland's the next fight. If he beats Renat on 308 4 months from now I get it. Kevin Holland wants to be more active than fighting every 4 months. He wants to fight every 2 weeks if he could. But he's a dog, dude. He's no slouch on the ground. He's got great cardio, and he's a powerful striker as well. He's a number 15 ranked welterweight. Give him this fight. I think it's one that he would take, and I think if you give him extra money, he'd do it. He hasn't fought in Abu Dhabi yet. I'm willing to bet that he would go fight in Abu Dhabi for a first time and probably starch Renat Fakhretdinov. But if not, you get Fakhretdinov and he earns a spot in the ranking. So we're going to move to the next fight. Muhammad Naimov lost to Diego Lima. Not an overly impressive performance on his end. It was a pretty slow work on his end, but Diego Lima looked really good. Naimov versus Jonathan Pierce. I think this is a good, fun matchup to make. You got a grappler versus a guy that can grapple but likes to strike. Do this one, 308 prelim. And again, it's going to be hard to get some of these guys to go out to Abu Dhabi. Just with everything in the mind of, damn, I'm fighting some of these guys on their home turf, and we know that the reffing and the judging is completely cooked to go their way if it goes to decision. Incentivize Jonathan Pierce. Give him a lot more money to go over there and fight. 20K more, 30K more. Dana, you have the money. Just fucking do it. Jonathan Pierce versus Muhammad Naimov. I reckon it'd be a pretty good matchup. These guys are similar spots in the rankings in featherweight. This is going to be a fun fight. Jonathan Pierce really brings it every time. Muhammad Naimov tries to bring it every time, and he always cheats, so we'd see how it goes. Diego Lima, very impressive performance at 145. I do think he's going to be moving back down to bantamweight. When should he fight? October. Didn't take too much damage. Turn it around. Fight in October on a prelim. You need to fight at 35. You don't need to. You could fight at 45 and honestly just keep working your way up the rankings, but I think he's going to go back down to 35. He's going to be big for that division. He's fast. He's strong. Get a win over a semi-name, and then you start looking at the top 25 opponents. John Castaneda is that guy. John Castaneda is coming off a loss. Diego Lima, I bet, can go out there, beat him in style, and end up starting to take a shot up those bantamweight rankings. Not top 15, but get into those top 25, top 20, and then continue to work his way up. Diego Lima's a stud. I bet he can win this fight. We want to give him a fight that he can win. Put him on the co-prelim headliners in October of some crowded event. Diego Lima's got that star ability about him. He's got Diego Lopez low-key written all over him, so maybe not full Diego Lopez status, but dude, I think he's going to be solid. So let's just see how it goes. Fight night, October, prelim, make it happen. Diego Lima versus John Castaneda. Jared Gordon won his fight and got robbed against Nasrat Haqparast. It's sad to keep seeing Jared Gordon get robbed. He's from New York. 309 is going to be at MSG in November. Put him on the prelims in front of his home crowd. He's already fought there twice the past 2 years. Jim Miller. Legends fight. This fight was booked, ended up getting canceled. This is I don't want to say Legends fight, but this is a premier old heads fight. You know what I mean? Two guys that have been around the division for a really long time. Jim Miller's coming off a brutal loss to Bobby Green. Jared Gordon is coming off a brutal robbery. Two guys just outside the rankings. Let them fight. I think it's a good one to make. It's a good fight with both guys that have name value, and I'm willing to bet it'd be a banger. So Jim Miller, Jared Gordon, this fight makes all the sense in the world to me. And that would give Jim Miller a solid 7 months after his beating from Bobby Green. Like to see that. Nasrat Haqparast robbed Jared Gordon. Again, he looked pretty good himself at points, but I just think Jared Gordon looked better. Haqparast has strung together a couple of wins now. He should be fighting on the prelims of 308. Go back to Abu Dhabi. You'll get yourself a decision if it's a close fight. Fight Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson is just coming off a dominant win over Joe Solecki at 302. Neither deserve a shot at the rankings yet. One because one got a robbery victory. The other because they smudged someone into the ground and they're boring to watch. Grant Dawson, Nasrat Haqparast, winner gets a shot at the top 15. That's the way you do this. 308, prelim, make it happen. Johnny Walker. I wanted to match him up with NyQuil, but he's already been sleeping for a while. It's tough to see him keep getting knocked out like this. I know we like to poke fun, but it does stink to keep seeing him get knocked out like this, man. Anyway, he needs some time off. Fight night co-main event. I was giving a specific date for this. I think you wait till February. Take 8 months. 8 months. There's a world in which he can bulk up to heavyweight. Take a heavyweight fight, beat a couple of those tomato cans. I think it would be awesome, but I don't know that he will yet. He's got one more fight that I think he wants to take. Battle of the Chins. Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker. Whoever gets chinned either retires or moves up to heavyweight. That's what I'm just saying because we can't keep seeing it. But Dominic Reyes is coming off a massive victory over Dustin Jacoby. He deserves a shot back in the rankings. He's in the rankings. He deserves a shot to go up the rankings. Johnny Walker needs to fight down. Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker, Battle of the Chins. This fight would have memes all over it. Fight night, co-main event in front of a crowd in February, somewhere like Anaheim, somewhere like Texas, somewhere like Florida, somewhere like St. Louis. Like, go to all these places. Come to Boston. It'd be fucking awesome. But they better come to Boston before the end of the year. I think it will happen. But Johnny Walker, Dominic Reyes, fun fight, Battle of the Chins. Would love to see how it works out. Volkan Ozdemir, very impressive victory. Feature fight at UFC 308. You could also put him on a pay-per-view later in the year, but he took no damage against Johnny Walker. I reckon he's ready to turn around and fight. A guy that hasn't fought in a while, that needs to defend his spot in the rankings. It's a good shot up for Volkan Ozdemir. They haven't fought yet. It's Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz, Volkan Ozdemir would be a sick fight. Good, high-level, light heavyweight MMA fight that we've been dying to see because we keep getting these low-level ones. But Volkan Ozdemir deserves that shot up in the rankings. I think Jan Blachowicz is sitting in like the 2 or 3 spot right now. Probably the 3 spot, 4 spot maybe. I'm going to say 3 spot. I'm willing to bet it's Yuri, Jamal Hill, Blachowicz, Rakic. I feel like that's how it is. Volkan Ozdemir is going to jump up to Johnny Walker's, I think, 7 spot. 3 versus 7. I think that's what it's looking like. Or maybe 6. This is the fight to make. Volkan Ozdemir, Jan Blachowicz. I think Jan's last fight, he's coming off a loss to Pereira, so he's got to fight again soon. Make it happen. D-Rod lost to Kelvin Gastelum, got weight bullied. Feel bad for D-Rod, but I honestly think he's just so much more overrated. Everyone gives him credit because his tattoos are crazy and he's kind of a gangster. Nicholas Dalby. This is the fight to make. Nicholas Dalby could have possibly beaten Renat Fakhretdinov. He didn't. 2 guys, similar schedule, took some damage, gonna need a little bit of time off. But these are 2 guys, same weight class, both coming off losses, took similar amount of damage on the same fight card. It makes sense to match them up. Similar spots in the rankings. Crowded fight night prelim in November. You can put this on the main card too as the main card opener. I would take that. I'm willing to bet it would be a fun fight. But I think if you do this as a prelim headliner in front of a crowd in November for a fight night, would be that's just in the making for a sick card. Shara Magomedov with not an overly impressive performance over Antonio Tricoli. Guy's only in the UFC because he's banging Mackenzie Dern. Wouldn't we all like to? But it is what it is. Shara Magomedov's got to fight up in the rankings. We want to see him get a real test, man. Want to see him get a real test. He either gets fraud checked or he belongs. But why give him a real test against a grappler yet? I don't want... And it also came out that Shara Magomedov is only going to be able to fight in Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia because the U.S. just won't let him in. He's having visa problems. So when he gets straightened out, that's when he can look at fights with Bo Nickal. So I don't want Bo Nickal going to fight over there in Saudi Arabia. He's an American guy. Stay in America. You don't need it. He would ragdoll Shara. We all know that. 308 prelim headliner in October. You can put him on the main card too, but I just don't think he's pay-per-view main card yet. You can't do that. So don't do it. Prelim headliner, Roman Kopylov. He either gets fraud checked or he has a very good win on his resume. So Roman Kopylov, Shara Magomedov, this is the fight to make. If Kopylov wins, he gets a shot back up at the rankings. He unfortunately had to fight Anthony Hernandez, who's I think one of the hardest fights in that division for everyone. But Shara Magomedov, Roman Kopylov, this fight goes hard. Make it happen. Sick fight. Prelim headliner, or you can do it opening up the main card, but I prefer prelim headliner because 308 should be stacked. Sergey Salty Pavlovich pushing Alexander Volkov after his loss like a salty little bitch. Would never say that to his face because he's still super intimidating, but Tybura. Apparently Tybura and Spivak are fighting each other. Don't know when. Sergey fights the winner. I actually think Spivak can beat Tybura too. But I didn't know that until after I made this. The winner of Tybura versus Spivak, Sergey should fight. December, co-main, crowd. Could be later in the year if Sergey wants more time off after the beating he took from Volkov, but he's got to turn around kind of soon. Tybura and Spivak, I don't know when they're fighting, but I'm assuming it's going to be relatively soon. Now, one of the things that I will say about this, a lot of people are going to say, dude, you got to match him up against Cyril Gane. No, we don't reward Cyril Gane with not fighting anyone until he sees them lose and then go, oh yeah, maybe I can beat him. No. He's getting Almeida. Plain and simple. Cyril Gane, Jailton Almeida. You do not reward him for just only fighting fat guys and then hoping to get a title fight after one victory. It just doesn't work like that, man. Doesn't fucking work like that. You don't get it. So, Sergey versus winner of Tybura Spivak, and then Cyril Gane versus Jailton Almeida. Maybe make a video matching up the whole heavyweight division. We'll see how that goes. But Volkov, December, main event, fight night, loser of Aspinall versus Curtis Blades. I don't think he deserves the title shot yet. I'm going to hold out hope that Aspinall is going to bully John Jones into one. Or Pereira's going to go up after if he beats Yuri and go fight Aspinall. We'll see. I just don't think Volkov's getting a title shot yet. He kind of deserves one, kind of. He's on a big win streak. He's already lost to Aspinall, though, and his last loss was to Aspinall. I think if he fights the loser of Aspinall versus Blades, that makes sense in a December main event. Crowded event. I think it's going to be Blades, but it would be a fun fight. You don't give him the Gane fight either. You just don't do it. He's going to fight in September. You don't make him turn around that fast for a loser like Gane that won't do anything for you. So, Volkov versus the loser of Aspinall, Blades, and we'll see what happens at heavyweight after that. Ikram Aleskarov got destroyed by Bobby Knuckles. But he should be on the main card of 308. He was a main event. He goes back to a main card now, even for a pay-per-view. If he opens up the main card, and Shara's the prelim headliner, he opens up the main card. Someone needs to be punished. And it's not Ikram. Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum won on this card. Took some damage. Kelvin's got to go to 85. No more fights at 70s. We can't rely on you. That if you don't make weight again, you get cut. Fight at 85. You get punished for what you did to D-Rod. Fight Ikram Aleskarov. UFC 308 main card. Winner can take a shot at a ranked contender. That's how you do this. You don't reward Kelvin Gastelum for the shit that he pulled. Ikram, Kelvin Gastelum, main card of 308. Open the fight. Make it happen. Bobby Knuckles. There's going to be some controversy here. He can make it to Perth. Took no damage. For the first time in a long time, Bobby Knuckles took no damage in a fight. So happy to see that. He can turn around, be at Perth in a 5-round co-main event for the number one contender of the middleweight championship of the UFC against Sean Strickland. I love Sean Strickland. I loved how based he is. I love how he's just gonna say what he wants to say, whether people like it or not. I'm from America. America, you can say what you want. There's such a thing as free speech, and you gotta fucking deal with it if you don't like it. Just deal with it. It is what it is. But Sean Strickland's gonna have to deal with the fact that the UFC will hold Robert Whittaker in front of him and say, I don't know, Whittaker got a finish. Maybe we give him the shot. I'm afraid if we don't see this fight, we'll never see it. You put this as the 5-round co-main on the same card as Izzy versus Duplessis. The winner of this is the number one contender. You build that fight even more. It's going to be unbelievable. It's winnable for Strickland. It's winnable for Whittaker. It's 1 versus 2 in the it's 1 versus 2 in the rankings because Izzy doesn't deserve the 2 spot. Fuck that bitch. Make it happen. Whittaker, Strickland, sick fight, incoming. This is the one. It's the number one contenders fight. I agree that Strickland should be next for the title, but then you're going to be in a spot where Whittaker should also fight for the title. So is he going to wait? We don't know. Whittaker, Strickland, co-main, 5 rounds, UFC 305, real number one contender fight. Make it happen. Thank you for tuning in. If you don't like the matchups, I'm sorry. Tell me who you like better. If you do like the matchups, please like and subscribe. If you don't like the matchups, please like and subscribe anyway, but yeah, this was it. This was the matchmaking video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Adios.